Fans, for some reason, continue to ask the former NFL star wide receiver if he's going to play in the XFL. And one says the XFL already came out, so we do not have in. So on Sunday, Brown responded to a fan's tweet about playing the XFL, saying, quote, "I'll buy the XFL. Tell Vince McMahon his league will only last 3 weeks." That's right. Antonio Brown says he's going to buy the XFL, and it's only going to last 3 weeks.
Well, they've patched things up, though they've never talked about that Black Rose thing. Here's Walker to the seam to Cam Phillips. Touchdown.
It's also he just more, the way he and watching around watching his most, he's got you got Deshaun, you got Russell, you got all them guys, they all do the same similar style play, Lamar Jackson as well. So just continue to study them guys as well and keep prospering.
Here with an injury. And they throw it to him in the end zone for the touchdown. That's a way to come back. Welcome back, Mr. Parham.
I would target that guy every single time I got the ball inside of the 10-yard.
In my opinion, I love watching you play. Can you talk about the journey from Stetson University to here? I mean, it's pretty cool to watch it.
It was definitely a big step coming from, a small school, AA. But, Donald Payne, the Jaguars linebacker, he set the path to, get in the NFL, get to the next level. So I just followed right behind him.
Familiar with XFL kickoffs, they look different. Kicker from the 30. Return team lined up at the opposite 30. Can't move to the ball. He's fielded. And here goes Keith Mumphrey. And they're going to turn it around with room on the near side. And for the first time, they get creative. And the Battlehawks have the sideline. And a kickoff return for Joe Powell to the end zone. And now they say he stepped out. No, touchdown, St. Louis.
It was a good day today, needless to say. The way that our guys came out and established the line of scrimmage both offensively and defensively, and our special teams, it was a three-phase game today, and our special teams really knocked the roof off the top of this building. And I want to just obviously express my thanks and our team's thanks to the people that came out. It was a great crowd. It was awesome today, and that really ignited our players and got us excited, and it was just unbelievable. And I can see why our 12th man is so important, and it really made it difficult for them to even with the snap count. So that was very exciting today.
In all the XFL. Here's Josh Johnson going deep down the sideline. This time, Clay McBride holds it in.
He wasn't going to let that opportunity pass him up. You knew he was kicking himself from the earlier drop on what would have been his bye. Again, remember, that's good coaching. Remember, Lawrence just came out of the game, and now he's replaced by his backup, Duran Grant.
Congratulations on your first victory. Can you talk a little bit about the way Josh Johnson played today?
Well, Josh really prepared, not only himself well, but he got this team prepared well. We challenged the players for more commitment and more dedication, and the results speak for themselves. I think that the players really found out what it took to go deep and dig deep and find out what they were made of, and had to really make a concerted effort to get this first victory.
What is up, my friends? Welcome to another edition of the XFL Week in Review. I'm your host, Mark Perry, and on this week's I'm from XFL News Hub. On this week's show, we do a preview of Week 4, a recap of Week 3. We talk about Johnny Manziel, yes, and so much more. Now, if you caught the beginning, if you tried to tune in late or tried to tune in live, we had an issue with the stream. I don't know what was going on. I have a theory of what was going on. I rebooted the machine, and we're back on live a little bit later. But we're still bringing you the show, as always. But if you saw the beginning package, this week is a special week because we are celebrating Antonio Brown Week. That's right. We played that clip from earlier, our podcast, from podcast number 35, going back to October, when Antonio Brown said that he was going to buy the XFL and that they wouldn't even make it past 3 games. Well, we played 3 games. Now we're moving on to Week 4. I haven't heard anything about it shutting down or Antonio Brown buying it, so you were wrong. And you apologize and you not apologize, and your life seems to be a mess. Just stay. The XFL has no interest in you, so just stay out of it. But we celebrate Antonio Brown Week here on XFL News Hub because we're good like that. So I'm wearing this cool T-shirt. You're probably wondering what's going on here. We have a sponsor for the show. Our sponsor is Mother's Cantina. You can see the cool shirt. You can see the sponsor on the side. So Mother's Cantina is located in 28th Street Plaza, 2810 Philadelphia Ave in Ocean City, Maryland. So if you're in Ocean City this summer, head over to Mother's Cantina. You can actually order stuff online to deliver. So it doesn't matter if you live in Maryland or not. You can visit the restaurant if you live in that Ocean City area, but also you can go to their store and order stuff. So anybody can go on. There's links in the show notes. There's links in the show description, but you can go to get products there. They sell things like tortillas and T-shirts and different hot sauces and all sorts of cool stuff. So you can go check out them. It's motherscantina.com. A hot sauce. You could check out their hoodies. We got some nice shirt. Ryan and the crew over there. Really cool stuff. And you can also get tortillas. Their famous Mother's flour tortillas. You can get those as well. And this is just my web stuff not loading very well tonight. I have some theories why. But there you have it. So check out motherscantina.com for all their cool stuff. So we appreciate them sponsoring, and tell them XFL News Hub sent you if you're going to buy anything from Mother's Cantina. So how do you get in touch with the show? You email podcast at XFL News Hub with your MP3 or videos, or you can call us. 888-430-7692 extension 3. Remember, cutoff time is 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday, so I can get the show up and running. Remember to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We'll read it on the show. And we talk about the question of the week. We threw out a question of the week is, should New York make a change at quarterback? We'll get your answers to that. Chat room, what's up? I want you to answer that question as well. As also, we have a new contest we're going to announce. That's right. We'll announce it right now. Here's the deal. We have a new contest. Let's see, XFL, just so that you could see what I'm talking about. But we want to give away something. So if you leave us a review on iTunes, so we want to go bigger and better. If you remember, and I have it right over here. If you remember, my friends, we had this XFL football we gave away to a lucky fan, and all they did to do was either subscribe to us on iTunes or subscribe, or leave us a review on iTunes or subscribe on YouTube. That's it. And then he got to win this cool football for $125. You say, all right, that's cool, Mark. That's really awesome. I'm so excited. But what are you going to do this time? Well, we got to up our game. We have got to up our game when it comes to giving away something really cool. So now what we're going to do is give away an XFL authentic game jersey of your choice. That's right. And it's not loading right now because my stuff. Not the cheap ones. We're going the big time ones, the ones that are $225 value. That's right. So if you leave us a review on iTunes, or if you subscribe on YouTube, and we can track all this stuff, we did it before, you're going to enter to win an XFL authentic game jersey of your choice, a value at $225. Winner will be announced on the March 31st episode of XFL Week in Review. That's right, the March 31st episode of XFL Week in Review. And if I could pull one of these bad boys up, you can take a look yourself. But everything is super slow on my computer right now, and I don't know why. But yes, you get that $225 value. All you have to do is sign up and subscribe either on our YouTube channel or leave us a review on iTunes. March winner is March 31st, our episode, and there you have it. That's it. So we're giving that away, which is really, really cool. All right, so up for the show, we got a review of the scores from last week, real quick recap, our XFL News Hub Players of the Week, DraftKings update, power ranking, preview of next week, and your breaking news, which is kind of what screwed me up a little bit. The breaking news that's going on, as well as all sorts of stuff here at XFL News Hub. So first, let's get into the last week's score, shall we? All right, so last week, if you didn't know and you were living under a rock, DC got crushed by LA 39-9. That was bad. New York got crushed by St. Louis 29-9, but still, St. Louis is looking really good. New York, and that's what we wanted to talk about, are the Guardians in need of a quarterback change. We still haven't heard any injury update on Matt McGloin. Whether Luis Perez, who's the only one that did anything real quick, and that was at the end of the game, is he going to be your guy? Or are you going to do with Marquez Williams, I believe his name is, at quarterback? We don't know about that. Dallas Renegades beat the Seattle Dragons 24-12. We had an article out there about Brandon Silvers, whether or not he should be the guy. And Houston beat Tampa Bay 34-27. Again, big plays from Cam Phillips and P.J. Walker. However, Tampa Bay put up 27 on Houston. I think that could have an impact of what's going on in this week. But there are your scores from last week's Week 3 in the XFL. Now we have our XFL News Hub Players of the Week. We like to do this every week. We announce Players of the Week. These are guys that is voted on by us, the staff of XFL News Hub, who we think had the best games of the week. We'll start off with offense, and there's no question about that. We're going with Cam Phillips, wide receiver, 8 receptions, 194 yards, and 3 touchdowns. That is a heck of a game for Cam Phillips. Let's take a look at one of his highlights, if this works. It's not loading. The next player up on our Player of the Week is on oh, here we go. I don't know what's going on with my computer right now. Everything is dirt slow, and I'm not sure why. I thought I fixed it, but it's loading, and everything is buffering. But we have Cam Phillips and he's been playing lights out for the Houston Roughnecks. He's been playing well. Phillip Walker has been playing well. My only question, though, about Houston is what's going on with their defense. I mean, everybody's like Houston is playing great, but if you look up their scores, they actually have given up some points pretty badly. I mean, Tampa Bay finally got their offense together this last game, and Houston did win. They scored 34 points, but Tampa also scored some points as well. This is still loading as well. As you can see, it's just a white screen. I'm not sure what's going on there, but we'll get back to that in a little bit. Let's get on to let's go to our next thing is let's take a look at our DraftKings. All right, here is our latest XFL News Hub DraftKings score. And as you can see, I finished in 5th place with 97 points. I had Philip Walker. No, I didn't. The winning combo was Chris A.V. had Philip Walker, Larry Rose, Reese Horn, Nelson Spruce, who we'll get into a little bit. Nick Holly had 4 points. Cam Phillips. So he had that Philip Walker, Cam Phillips combo. And he had the Battlehawks defense, which was a real good pick, which I would look back on my picks and I was like, man, I should have picked the Battlehawks. They had 17 points. So between Cam Phillips with his 48, Philip Walker with his 41, 10 from Nelson Spruce, 3 catches for 75 yards, and 17 points from the Battlehawks. There you have a pretty good lineup. He got 139 points. Second place, Zach got 136. Hank D. Dog, got 97 points. Not a good one for me. I was close, but not that close. Oh, here's my lineup. I had Jordan Tamu, who I really thought was going to do pretty well. He only got me 6 points. I thought for sure. But I think New York's defense is really good. It's just that their offense stinks. You could see 42% of the people wanted to have put Jordan Tamu on there. Lance Dunbar, he did good, 16 points. I was a good pick there. Donald Parham, 36% people picked him, 30 points. Again, another good one would be DeAndre Tompkins. See, this is the thing. I thought for sure, and they had 79% people picked him because he was cheap, and I thought for sure Dallas or DC, your America's team, DC Defenders, would do a lot better. Only 2 points that hurt. Cameron Artis-Payne had a good game. He was 26% owned. He had 17 points, 30 receptions, 80 yards, and 6 catches. Austin Prohl, a good pick by me, had a touchdown, 81 yards, and 6 catches for 30. But it's that defense, that Roughnecks, with only 4 points. Houston 34, Tampa Bay 27. That's the problem. I'm worried about Houston giving up 27 points to Tampa Bay. Second place was Zach, 46. Let's see what he had real quick, if this sucker loads. It was 139, and he was only 3 off from the pace, but he still won money, so you can't complain about that, can you? Certainly cannot. He had, let's see here, it's not loading, but he had 136, and third place had 130, and then fourth place was 104. So with his, he had Zach, 46. He had Cam Phillips, or Philip Walker at 41. 10, Devontae Smith, Nick Holly with 4. He had the Philip Walker, Cam Phillips. Matt Jones was a good pick at 15. Orlando Russell at 8, and the Dragons defense at 7. Hopefully, I need to get in the money at some point in this season. All right, now it is time, since this sucker doesn't even want to load, get into our power rankings for this week. So, Houston is now on top, clearly, with the Battlehawks coming in. So here is the order. You have at 8, Tampa Bay Vipers, clearly, because they're 0-3. But I don't think they're going to be there for very long. Why? Because number 2 is New York Guardians, and they have been looking pretty terrible. But I still think the New York Guardians defense is decent. And at number 7. At number 6, we're going Seattle Dragons. I think they're start out of it. I could see New York and Seattle being at the bottom. Tampa Bay might do well coming up soon. Number 5, the Los Angeles Wildcats. They finally get their first win in a decisive win against America's team, your DC Defenders. That was surprising, but not surprising. We talked about it last week. DC traveling to LA, East Coast teams traveling to the West Coast, but man, Cardell and the offense just could not get anything going. Just looked terrible. At number 4, Dallas Renegades. They're coming on strong. Landry Jones, they stay at that position at number 4. Landry Jones is looking good. Offense is starting to get her. Donald Parham is legit tight end, the best tight end in the league. Landry Jones' favorite target. There's no question about that. Dropping down to number 3 is your DC Defenders at 2-1. Honestly, the way the DC Defenders looked against Los Angeles, they might even have gone down to 4, but they were also just undefeated. They're 2-1. We'll see if they bounce back against Tampa Bay. I'm a little concerned. St. Louis Battlehawks looking legit at 2-1. They're number 2. Totally underestimated the St. Louis Battlehawks. The Dome was rocking. Fans were totally into it. The great punt return, a kickoff return, I should say, that they had during the game. This building was electric. They're going to be tough to beat at home. St. Louis Battlehawks look legit. I still think St. Louis Battlehawks, DC Defenders in the East, and the 2 Texas teams, Houston and Dallas Renegades in the West. And number 1, no surprise, Houston Roughnecks, 3-0. We know Philip Walker. We know Cam Phillips. They're lighting the league up. We shall see. This weekend's games is going to be really interesting. Will Dallas knock off Houston? Does Tampa get back on the win column and the DC Defenders lose? It's going to be a lot of interesting stuff. So, finally, the XFL News Hub Power Rankings. You got number 8, Tampa Bay. Number 7, New York Guardians. Number 6, Seattle Dragons. Number 5, the Los Angeles Wildcats. Number 4, Dallas Renegades. Number 3, DC Defenders. Number 2, St. Louis Battlehawks. And your number 1 team, 3-0, your Houston Roughnecks. Next up, we're going to talk about my picks for week 4, because apparently people are really interested in what I have to say when it comes to making these picks in the XFL. And I don't know if it's because I'm some kind of expert or what the deal is, but I appreciate everybody's interest in my picks. So we have up first. Well, first of all, let's take a look at my picks before we get into that. So week 1, I was 2-2. That's okay. Week 2, I was 4-0. Doing very good, getting better. Week 3, 3-1 on the season. Not bad picks at all. I lost, of course, it was DC Defenders, Los Angeles Wildcats. That's where I kind of lost my footing. So what do we got, Mark? What do you got going on for week number 4? First up, Los Angeles Wildcats at New York Guardians. Same rules apply. West Coast team traveling to the East Coast could be tough. Here's my take. I think the final score, well, I have a couple. It depends on who's the New York starting quarterback. I think if Luis Perez is your starting quarterback, we got a game. If not, I think LA is going to win it. So, and if that's the case, and we go Matt McGloin and Williams again and stay away from Luis Perez, I'm going Los Angeles Wildcats 24, New York Guardians 9. We have breaking news about Nelson Spruce being out for that game and possibly out for longer. That was according to our Connor Falk here at XFL News Hub. With Nelson Spruce out, that could be really interesting. They have some injuries at wide receiver also from the DC Defenders game. That could impact stuff. The running game was on point. New York Guardians have got a good defense. I just wonder who is going to be the starting quarterback. So Los Angeles Wildcats 24, New York Guardians number 9. Wildcats going 2-2. Next game on the docket, we have the Seattle Dragons against the St. Louis Battlehawks at home at the Battle Dome. Brandon Silvers hasn't looked good. The St. Louis Battlehawks have looked good. Jordan Ta'amu and company. He didn't put up big numbers for that game, but their running game was good. The defense is good. Kenny Robinson got his first interception. The guy from West Virginia, which is exciting. So in this game, I'm going Seattle Dragons 12, St. Louis Battlehawks 23. I don't think the Dragons are quite there yet. I think they're on the lower tier teams. I'd be surprised if Seattle Dragons pulled it off, but this is the XFL. You never know what's going to happen week to week, which makes it super fun for all of us to watch. So Seattle Dragons 12, St. Louis Battlehawks 23 is my pick. Now we go on to Sunday. This is the game of the week, in my opinion. This is totally the game of the week. The Houston Roughnecks against the Dallas Renegades. Philip Walker against Landry Jones. The Battle of Texas in the XFL. Unfortunately, this is on FS1, which is not a good thing. This is your game marquee matchup of the week. Based on what I'm seeing, which is Dallas is starting to bring up their offense, starting to play better. They're starting to click. Landry Jones is starting to click. It seems like he's a slow starter and then gets it going. Donald Parham is a good player. He's been playing lights out. Houston Roughnecks have been giving up the points. Remember, go back. Tampa. They gave up points, a lot of points, 20-something points to Tampa. So what's my final score in this game? I'm going Dallas Renegades end the 3-0 streak of the Houston Roughnecks because they're going to outscore them. Dallas Renegades 32, Houston Roughnecks 28. The Battle of Texas goes to Dallas Renegades, and then they are who we thought that they would be, which is Dallas Renegades is in the hunt for that division. This is kind of a must-win for them. If Houston goes 4-0 and Dallas goes to 2-2, that kind of makes things murky. This is kind of a must-win for Dallas, in my opinion, if they want to take the division. You can't have Houston going 4-0 because once they go to 5-0, they're halfway there, and that's trouble. So I got Houston Roughnecks 28, Dallas Renegades 32. Next on the docket, my friends, I'm scared about this one. I'm very scared. This is where I'm scared about is my DC Defenders playing Tampa. Tampa's offense is starting to click. They're starting to play better. Again, I go back to they scored a bunch of points on Houston. DC looked all sorts of out of whack. This is a game that I think could get away from DC. I'm worried. I'm worried about our season is on the line, I think, for this game. Yes, this might be too early to call, but I'm worried. However, I have faith in Pep Hamilton. Yeah, it's kind of a homer pick. I have faith in Cardell Jones. Get that off their belt. It'll be nice in Tampa versus DC, which has always been cold lately. DC Defenders is going to squeak this one out, 28-24. However, I will preface this all that I would not be surprised. It would not stun me if the DC Defenders lost because of what we saw against LA. And I didn't think LA is that great. They played better. I'm hoping that it was just the East Coast, West Coast thing. But I have my concerns about DC Defenders. If you want to take a risky bet and you want to take Tampa, I wouldn't slap your hand. I wouldn't tell you no. But this could be another upset. However, I will be doing the homer pick, and I will be going with America's team, the DC Defenders. All right, we'll be back with the news and your social media stuff right after this. Stay tuned, my friends. What's up, XFL Army? If you're a fan of the XFL News Hub and you have a telephone, which I know all of you do because you're sitting there playing on your phones all the time, then why not download the XFL News Hub app? That's right, it's on iTunes. It's on Android. We have an Android version and an iPhone version of the XFL News Hub app. So what do you get? You get the latest news from XFL News Hub, the premier source of XFL news in the universe. Plus, you get push notifications when we have breaking news. You will be the first to know. You can leave a comment on some of the news right from the phone. So yes, remember, you can leave us reviews or iTunes. It links to other social media, our other social media accounts, and so much more. Be in the know. I know you're on your phones. People are on their phones all the time. They never get off their phones. So why not just download the XFL News Hub app on your Android or iPhone today? All you need to do is go to the Google Play Store or iTunes and just type in XFL News Hub. That's XFL News Hub. Download our app on your phone today. Breaking news, wide receiver Nelson Spruce is out for week 4 at LA. This is according to Matthew Shapiro and our Connor Falk. According to Connor Falk of XFL News Hub, Nelson Spruce will be sidelined this coming week due to a knee injury. Our own Matthew Shapiro actually caught up with Nelson Spruce after the game as he was walking out of the x-ray room. Now it kind of makes sense why. Here's a video of him interviewing Nelson Spruce. So there you have Spruce talking, didn't say anything about his knee injury. He is arguably the best wide receiver in the XFL. So this is huge blow for the Wildcats. However, the Wildcats will not be thin at wide receiver. Trey McBride, who caught two DTDs last week, will be leading the charge with LA's wide receiver along with Jordan Smallwood and Adonis Jennings. Have no fear. We don't know still if Trey McBride, who got banged up in that DC Defenders game, whether or not he'll be playing, but he will be out this weekend. Connor Folk says the wide receiver will be sidelined week 4 and maybe more. So stay with XFL News Hub on more on this breaking story about Nelson Spruce. Some roster moves for your Dallas Renegades. They sign Armani Edwards, which is huge for the Dallas offense. The 31-year-old CFL vet just came off a 1,000-yard season with Toronto and brings a great blend of athleticism and experience and playmaking to the table. He could be used in a variety of roles, and his experience at QB in college could make him a threat for more double forward passes. We don't know about that. So here's that CFL guy, Armani Edwards, now with Dallas. Whether or not he plays this weekend is questionable. Dallas has struggled on the wide receiver position. Donald Parham has been the guy this whole time, basically on offense. Now, Gerard Hurd previously filled in the role of a wide receiver with passing capabilities, but saw limited snaps and made one reception for 10 yards. The former Texas Longhorn has a great skill set and wants to be the Taysom Hill of the XFL. A struggling team like Tampa Bay or New York might be better off with his services. So here's the roster updates. They added 3 roster moves. They added Armani Edwards, Jesse Anna Bonham, and Brogan Roback. Gerard Hurd was waived. We'll see if he goes to Team 9. Outside linebacker Halohi Kakaha has retired. And Eric Dungy was placed on reserve left squad due to a family matter. So it's unfortunate for Halohi Kakaha, retired 3 weeks into the season, but he's struggled with injuries throughout his career. We wish him the best of luck, taking care of his health. His spot is filled by Jesse Anabianam, who had 15 sacks and 26 tackles for loss at the University of Maryland and spent the past offseason with Houston, Texas. The Dallas pass rush really needs to ramp things up, and maybe with some fresh legs could be a good thing. As far as Eric Dungy, we've been wanting to know what's going on with Eric Dungy. He had taken a week off for personal reasons, but after the tragic death of his father, he's decided to put football on hold and be with his family We'll keep him and his family in our thoughts and prayers. So sorry to hear about what's going on with Eric Dungy. If you were wondering what happened with him, but now Brogan Roback is back. He'll be the third string quarterback behind, of course, Philip Nelson and Landry Jones in Dallas. More roster moves for the Tampa Bay Vipers. They got a bunch of moves going on. The Vipers signed the following players. Well, let's see. That's announced the following transactions via their Twitter. The Vipers place Renell Hall on injured reserve cornerback. They waive Dante Dye and safety wide receiver Dante Dye and safety Corey Moore. They sign Stevanius Jones, wide receiver, and Robinson Thurez, a safety. Stevanius Jones was on my XFL fantasy football team, and then I got rid of him because he got cut. The combination of Dye and Moore have been largely special teams players for Tampa. Dye was returning kicks for Hall, who had been shaken up several times this season. Moore was slated at the team's second nickel safety behind Micaiah Haman. In Week 3, Haman was one of the surprise of the Vipers' defense, and his play is demanding of more consistent playing time. Both Jones and Thurez have been with the Vipers previously this season. Thurez was part of a player cut when the rosters was low to 52. He's largely recognized as a depth in the secondary and a special team asset. Jones was waived by Tampa Bay just 6 days ago on the 19th when the team acquired S.J. Green from Seattle and signed Shane Bowman from Team 9. He had fallen behind Dan Williams and Jalen Tolliver on the depth chart, but is a proven pass catcher and could possibly return kicks or special play on special teams. More Vipers roster moves. They activate defensive end Oben Gwacham. At the beginning of the week, 4 teams could start to activate players off the injured reserve. Today, the Tampa Bay Vipers did so with their top defensive front 7 pick, Oben Gwacham. Gwacham injured himself during training camp and began the season on injured reserve. He's tabbed as a player to watch for the Vipers before his injury came to light. He's expected to immediately contribute now that he is healthy. He joins a pass rush that ranks last in the XFL with 3 sacks and has struggled to get pressure on the opposing quarterbacks on passing downs. Great for America's team, our friends, the DC Defenders, that he comes back. The 28-year-old 6'5" Oregon State product was highly coveted in the draft when the Vipers used their first selection on him. He was a standout for the Atlanta Hotshots during last year's AAF. So it'll be real interesting to see how he plays and how that impacts the Tampa Bay Vipers. Tampa Bay Vipers wheeling dealing. More news. They send linebacker Stubbs to St. Louis for cornerback Caldwell. Late last night, the Vipers made a trade to bolster their struggling secondary. The team added 26-year-old Trey Caldwell while sending out depth linebacker Anthony Stubbs. Stubbs was the 5th on the Vipers depth chart at linebacker position and struggled to see time on the field. There's a similar story for Caldwell, who was on the back half of the Battlehawks depth chart at corner and has gotten most of his field reps as special teams. Caldwell should factor in the Vipers depth chart somewhere between cornerback 4 and 5 with Jalen Collins' health in question. It couldn't be a surprise to see the new acquisition on the field Sunday. The trade marks an end of an up-and-down tenure for Stubbs. The linebacker was originally waived by the Vipers January 22nd before being re-signed on January 28th. The XFL Week 3 ratings took a slight dip, but viewership is still pretty dang good. If you were to be the ultimate skeptic against how sustainable the model is for the XFL, your argument is getting tougher to defend as the weeks go on. While Week 3 may have brought a slight dip in the ratings, it has become evident that people are absolutely buying what Oliver Luck and Vince McMahon are selling. According to our pal Mike Mitchell, Saturday sports ratings, if you were interested. So Saturday sports, XFL on ABC got 1.9 million viewers. XFL on Fox got 2 million, I think that's 2.51 million viewers, 2 million viewers. NBA on NBC got 1.75 million. That is less than the XFL. PGA on NBC, our friend Mike Florio, I'm sure the PGA is not fledgling, got 1.7 million viewers. NCAA on CBS got 900,000 viewers. NCAA on Fox got 500,000, and soccer on NBC got 800,000. Just to give you, so even though there was a dip, the XFL was the number one sport on television on Saturday. Now, to say that it was a dip in the ratings would be an overstatement. Viewership over the weekend was still an unbridled success, especially if you can compare it to last year's AAF. While they had comparable numbers on opening weekend, the XFL has carried this momentum as the season carries on. Week 3 slate brought over 1 million viewers to every game, with a peak of 2 million viewers on the Fox broadcast of Dallas and Seattle. Now, for some perspective, let's look at the AAF. If you look at the Week 3 ratings of the 2 games that were played that weekend, Orlando, Memphis, San Antonio, San Diego, those games combined didn't match the lowest rating in the XFL this weekend. The AAF brought home 500,000 and 490,000 viewers, according to Show Buzz Daily, compared to the 1 million fans who tuned in to watch the LA Wildcats topple America's Team DC Defenders. So if you don't like the AAF versus XFL, Connor Falk, our pal XFL News Hub, said if you don't like the AAF versus XFL TV rating comparison due to XFL's better TV deal, ignore the single tweet. But just for the record, why the TV deal is so important, you've got 2 million and almost 2 million there on Fox, 2 million for Seattle versus Dallas versus Seattle. Houston versus Tampa was 1.9. Guardians versus St. Louis on ESPN was 1.4 million, and DC versus LA on Fox Sports 1 was 1 million. Fox Sports 1 is a tough one as far as all the other networks go, and definitely you just get way more viewers with over-the-air TV. It's so critical. I never even thought that it was that big of a deal, but getting ABC and Fox is so huge just compared to just if you had ESPN by itself. We'll continue to see. We'll continue to monitor what's going on with these things. Don't be worried. But it looks like so far things are going good for the XFL and their ratings. Johnny Manziel in the news. He wants to be in the XFL, but then he deletes his Twitter account. What? That's right. Jonathan Manziel tweeted, Oliver Luck, if you want to, and this was like a Saturday night at 11 o'clock at night. So clearly, let's just assume based on his history that there was some alcohol involved. He said, if you want to boost your ratings to another level, just send me the contract tomorrow and we're there. Like I said years ago, XFL 2020, give the people what they want. This is Jonathan Manziel. Well, the 27-year-old quarterback who goes by Johnny, some harsh criticism for the league that never played into a nonsense allowing him in. He criticized them back a while ago, saying, come back SC's in, still alive, if y'all don't know. Just not playing for another league that's going to fold on you midway through the season. And he tweeted that out on February 8th, having no interest. Him and Antonio Brown put in hate. But then he tweeted something, deleted his account, and then proceeded to ask to get a contract in the XFL. And of course, we know his whole deal. Made stops in the Canadian Football League, with Hamilton and Montreal. We all know his career. He was in the AAF. Now, lately, the last thing we heard, he did bring back his account and wind up saying that he was just playing around, but he has no interest in playing professional football. Johnny, we're not really interested in seeing you either. Poor Jonathan. Jonathan Manziel, I don't know what to tell you, my friend. I don't know what to tell you. What I will tell you is that we have some social media stuff we'll get to here at your pals at XFL News Hub. Let's see here. We got our social media stuff. First up, let's take a look at the Twitters of what's going on there. with our question of the week. Should the New York Guardians make a change at quarterback? We ask fans, should they make a change? What do we got going? Richard Humphrey says, hell yeah. I think Luis Perez should get a chance at starting quarterback, and I think the Dragons should give B.J. Daniels a chance too. We had an article on XFL News Hub talking about that situation. That got a lot of traction, whether or not Brandon Silver should be the starting quarterback. Mr. G. Coco said they need Luis Perez as QB. America's Finest Sports, yes. Layla Favorite, 69, says absolutely. How much more of McGloin do they need to see before they realize he's not the answer? Let a TD drive when they finally put him in the game. I agree with that too. Sell McGloin. I'm all for Luis Perez getting his shot. I think the team, this is from Michael Schensberger, this is a good team that needs to calm down and stop making mistakes. I don't think McGloin has the leadership qualities to bring about that environment. You mentioned, it was interesting during the game, the coach, Kevin Gilbride, pulling one of the receivers aside and saying, we need some new leaderships and I need you to step up. McGloin might not be the leader. He could be done. I don't know. We'll see. All three quarterbacks in the Guardians offense, Luis Perez looked the most confident and deserves a shot. That's from Jonathan O'Brien. Better question is, should the Vipers make a coaching change? The answer to that is yes. That's the handsome Randall. I think you're jumping the gun a little bit, my friend, about a change at coaching. That's not going to happen this season. I'll tell you that right now. On to our Instagram about the QB change. Pacey Bites _Evergreen. Yes, Perez seems decent, just not McGloin. His attitude sucks and he's bad QB. We need to follow the St. Louis model and be a run-heavy offense. I agree with that. Not Perez. He does dump the ball to his running backs. He still scored a touchdown. The Untitled Football Show says it's time to bring in Luis Perez. There you have it. What else do we got here? Let's take a look at our face on the Facebooks real quick. What those fans think is going on. Joseph says, from the outside looking in, it would seem the QB change is worth trying. I found it really sad that on last TV broadcast, you had the head coach telling a dejected-looking player that he's looking for him to step up the role model on the team because the folks he originally expected to do that have not. Not a good sign for team culture in the locker room. I'm with you there. We were just talking about that, and that same thing. I thought the same thing too. It was very interesting, and it's amazing. It's very cool that the XFL has this kind of stuff where you can actually see all this kind of action on the field and hear all this kind of stuff. It's really interesting. How about a new QB coach? 8 attempts at the touchdown and one drive, less than 5 yards to gain, not one run play called. LOL. Yes, Anthony says put in Perez. He looks solid. Maybe the Dragons too. Yes, give Perez a shot. There you have it. Fans, all about Luis Perez getting a shot with the New York Guardians. Let's listen to our first phone call, shall we?
What's up, everybody? Mr. Trey here from the Wake and Bake America show on Blazin' 98.5 KCBR, Colorado Springs. And here's my take this week. First off, I want to answer your question. Why the Tampa Bay Vipers? If I live in Colorado, simple. I used to live in Tampa, adopted all the teams there. I tweeted you all about it. My Vipers, 0-3. I want to shout out the success on offense, but what is going on? What is it going to take to win in Tampa? Does the coach need to go? That's my question about the Vipers. Shocker in L.A., Wildcats knock off the D.C. Defenders, and I'm going to tell you I was shocked. I thought for sure the D.C. Defenders and the Houston Roughnecks were going to finish this week 3-0. I'm just blown away by that. Houston sitting atop number 1 in the West. The Battlehawks, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. They're St. Louis Battlehawks. They are number 1 in the East. Blown away by that, I'm telling you. None of us saw that coming. Lastly, a couple last things. First thing is, Seattle, are they a bigger fraud than Tampa? Are they just plain not good? Answer that question for me. Are they a bigger fraud than Tampa despite having beaten Tampa? And the last thing I want to give a shout is to the Dallas Renegades. One, I think that they're a lot better than they're given credit for or that their record shows. They play well. But also, the other thing is, what a way to kick off the first double pass in the XFL with a 20-yard completion on a pass that was batted back to the quarterback and then thrown for a 20-yard completion. Man, I love this league. Colorado Springs is with you, baby. I'm out.
All right. Thanks for the phone call. I like the little plug there. As far as a coach, they're not going to change. Trestman's not going anywhere in Tampa. He's fine. He's going to be fine. He's not going anywhere. Seattle is a fraud. Here's the deal with Seattle and Tampa. Really, this is about Tampa. If Tampa beats DC, then I think Seattle is your basement dweller. I think Tampa Bay is getting some guys back. I think they can have a shot at it. It's DC defenders. It's DC defenders. I don't know what's going to happen this weekend. If Tampa Bay comes along, look, they're making roster moves. Let's see what they do about their quarterback situation. We haven't heard what's the deals with Aaron Murray yet. They've upgraded their wide receiver. They upgraded their defense. Now they got one of the best pass rushers out there. Could this be the team that we thought Tampa Bay would be this weekend? I'm not sure. It's going to be real interesting, and more than anything else, real interesting and fun to watch for us fans. No question about it. Thanks for the phone call. On to our emails. Let's see. Randy says, I believe the best markets for talking about XFL expansion. That was a big thing, too. People were talking about expansion. I believe the best markets for XFL expansion would be San Diego in the West. I agree with that. And Columbus, Ohio in the East, especially when looking at the XFL viewership ratings. You know what? I am with you 100% on the Ohio thing. If you look at the ratings, it doesn't matter what game is going on. Ohio is always one of the top-rated markets. If you want to make yourself get a team, you San Antonio's and your Auburn, no, whatever it's called, Alabama, whatever, Birmingham, Alabama's. You need to tell all your friends to make sure they tune into the XFL because that's what's going to get raise their eyebrows is those cities having ratings. If there's ratings in there, then there's no question that's going to play a role. Definitely will play a role in expansion in the XFL coming up. Mike says Thursday Night Football ASAP, please. Why not start Thursday Night Football? Let me know what you think. There is going to be Thursday Night Football. You don't worry about it. It's coming at the end of the season. Let's get past this March Madness stuff, but it was interesting that we just saw earlier that the ratings for the basketball games didn't do as well as the XFL. Could you imagine March Madness games and the XFL has better ratings than March Madness games? That's going to be very interesting to watch. However, the thing is, bettors love their March Madness. Maybe they flip between the two. That's going to be real telling because what I remember when the AAF was around, March Madness was kind of coming to an end. And then the interest in the AAF started to build up, but then they ran out of money, and that was it. So it's going to be real interesting to see what the ratings look like during the March Madness season. All right, let's go to another phone call up.
Hi, I just got a quick question as well. Like, I know the attendance is up across the XFL, but I know in LA it was only 12,000. 13,000, and I'm not bashing the XFL. Please don't twist it by any means, please. If attendance is a thing, why, and the XFL ever plans to expand, I know I've heard you talk about they want bigger markets like San Diego, but why not San Antonio? Why not Birmingham? I know they had really good attendance. I know San Antonio, I think, always had 20,000 plus at games, and I think that would help the XFL a lot. Yes, I know it's a smaller market, but wouldn't it be better for the league to have bigger fan attendance and maybe like a smaller city like San Antonio versus, they're in San Diego, but if they only average like 12 to 13,000, like isn't that worse than I didn't know if maybe you can explain that to me. I'm not trying to be insulted to the XFL or anything, but I mean, I know they want to maybe get the bigger markets, but why not some of these small markets that would give bigger crowds like San Antonio and Birmingham? All right. Thank you for and taking care of my call, and I hope you have a great day. And go Dallas Renegades.
All right, well, I think your Dallas Renegades will do fine. It's a great question. So definitely in the initial run, they want the thing is, and this is what I have a problem with LA. LA is a big market. It is the second largest market. New York is number one. I think Dallas is 3 or 4. Houston's in there. They're those big markets. So they want to target the bigger markets because there's more people there. Now, you would rather stick an XFL franchise in a city of 8 million people versus, a city of 1 million people. Even though, you look at Green Bay where it's a small city, but it will sell out. I get that part, but they really want to hit the major markets first before they would go any kind of smaller markets. LA is, I would always totally bet the house that LA would have the lowest attendance out of any of the teams. I thought Tampa would be too. But Tampa had a pretty good turnout for their first game. I'm not sold on LA. Like when the Rams leaving St. Louis to go to LA, to me, and then San Diego also moving to LA, to me was just dumb because I'm like, I understand everybody wants that money, that target, that market, but the fan base is just so weird. Like it's like, they like the Lakers, and then they like. Everybody tries to move their team to LA to get that rub, so to speak, to use a wrestling terminology. From LA, remember Anaheim Angels is now the Los Angeles Angels and the Los Angeles Dodgers. And then LA Clippers. What are you still doing? That's the LA Laker town. Clippers move. What's wrong with you? So I'm not surprised that they would have those lower numbers. There's going to be multiple factors, and at least the initial iteration will always be the bigger markets. But now that we've had those covered, you still have Philadelphia, you still have Chicago. You're not going to put another third team in Texas. You just can't. When you could target somebody, just think about how spread out things are. Like you got to go Chicago, Boston. Well, you already have New York. You're fine. You're kind of fine on the East Coast. I think Chicago, and I think the way St. Louis turned around, I think San Diego would be huge for an XFL franchise as well. I'm not sure how there was a San Diego Fleet in the AAF. I'm not sure how they did. That would be an interesting point. But they're still going to go big markets for a while, folks. They're just going to go big markets. I hope that explains it. But now let's go to another emailer. Don says, first of all, I'm from St. Louis, all right? Battlehawks season ticket holder. I like to hear that too. In an earlier episode of your podcast, a Seattle fan questioned St. Louis enthusiasm because of our home opener had not sold out yet. Well, week 3, our home opener showed 19,554 fans rocking the dome. More than the Seattle home opener. Ooh, I don't know about that. Now, I understand that both venues were limiting tickets to the lower bowl, but rumor has it that the dome may open up more sections in the time for Game 6, the third home game for St. Louis. I'd also like to note the steady climb in power rankings that Battlehawk has experienced. I'm hoping by week 5 we are number 1 and stay there. Don, checking in. Throwing it down, Mr. Donald. Throwing it down. St. Louis is looking legit, and I think it's really great for the league. It would be a shame if St. Louis wasn't good. St. Louis to me is a surprise team. I thought maybe 2 or 3 wins was kind of. I wasn't sold on Jonathan Hayes as a head coach, as a new coach. They had the youngest quarterback in Jordan Ta'amu. I wasn't sold on them, but now I'm a believer. I'm like, I think St. Louis could take the Eastern Division, especially after what happened in LA with America's team, your DC Defenders. It was very sad. But I think Seattle fans is good too. Battlehawk is a good fan. It's going to be really interesting to see how these next couple of weeks play out. We just talked about LA's dip and their attendance after the next week. We'll see. Really, at the end of the season, either side has no excuse. Who's going to win, Seattle or St. Louis as far as fan attendance goes. I'll be curious of who's the number one for the season is going to be. Let's go on to another phone call, our final phone caller.
Hi, this is Richard, better known as Richard O for real on Twitter. Look, I enjoyed the XFL game this past weekend, but I only have two questions. When will the Dragon and the Guardian change quarterback, and why Tampa Bay won't keep Flower in the game? Because being honest, he looked very impressive the first couple of snaps. I mean, I really believe they could have won that game if they kept him in the game, especially in the red zone.
All right. Thanks for the phone call. We'll see about New York, Tampa, who's going to make the change there. Let's see here on our Jason Sparks on our chat room says Tampa can't even decide on their quarterback. Oh, and my chat room went away. I don't know what's going on with YouTube is just struggling to keep up with what's going on. This is the same setup I do every week, YouTube. What's the problem? You having problems with your server? Like, just stuff is super slow. Now I wanted to read, but yeah. Let's see. Battlehawks are GOAT. Quit talking about the Vipers. They are 0-3 and absolute trash. That's from Will. Let's see. And that's really I could see here. So about changing in the quarterback position, I think New York is going to make a change. But Aaron Murray is not over yet. Aaron Murray, we'll see if he comes back this week. If I'm New York, I'm going Luis Perez. I'd be really surprised if they didn't. Just go with Luis, please. Will you? All the fans are telling you to do it. Listen to the fans. They know everything. Fans are the best. They know everything about every sport. Our final email, Nicholas checking in. I read the article that said the XFL contacted Tim Tebow. If it was during the season, it makes no sense to me. The problem has not been the lack of big names, but overall quarterback play. I don't feel like Tebow will improve quarterback play, actually. I feel like he would hurt it. I don't know. His game, he's just getting, I don't know. I'm a fan of Tim Tebow. I would love to see him in the league. I just don't think it would be real. He would have to go to somebody like a Pep Hamilton type that would really coach him up in a different style. Tebow, he says, Tebow has never been much of a thrower. He's a great competitor, but throwing the ball is not a strong suit. Also, I know Manziel changed his stance on the XFL, but I wouldn't be interested in him either. Last time he saw him play, he did not look good. The XFL has time to contact quarterbacks that improve play. The XFL don't necessarily need big names, but they do need good quarterbacks. This week was impressive. It had 2 games shocked this week. That shocked me, Houston versus Tampa and DC versus LA. I thought LA could win, but I was not expecting that. I feel like DC needed a loss like that. It will wake them up a bit and show Cardell that he still needs to improve his overall game. I feel bad for Tampa next week. Tampa Bay was a great game. I did not expect them to give them much fight. They came to play. I just don't understand their quarterback situation. St. Louis looked good at home. They might be the best coach team in the XFL. Salute to Jonathan Hayes. He's doing a fantastic job. The Renegades offense is slowly coming to life. Landry Jones has to stop having turnovers, improve for them to take the next step. This week of the XFL was amazing. I totally agree with Nicholas there. I'm right. I'm with you about Jonathan Hayes. I was wrong about him. His brother is on that squad too. That's changing at the offensive coordinator before the beginning of the season. But right now, after 3 weeks, I would have to go Jonathan Hayes as your coach, Philip Walker as your MVP, and that's your 2 things right now. We thought Cardell and Pep Hamilton would be. But Jonathan Hayes right now, he's looking great, and the team's looking good. We'll see. Hey, anything can happen in the XFL. We totally know that. So that's it for this week's show. I appreciate you all guys checking in. Remember to email podcast@XFL News Hub or call 888-430-7692 extension 3. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube on XFL News Hub. Just look that up. Plus, we got our Android and Google Play iPhone app. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We'll read it on the show. Remember, you can be entered. All you have to do is leave us a review on iTunes starting today, February 25th. We're going to start tracking. Leave us a review on iTunes or subscribe to our YouTube channel and you'll be entered to win an XFL authentic game jersey of your choice, a value at $225. We're giving one of those away. Winner will be announced on March 31st, episode of the XFL Week in Review. You can listen to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and for show notes, xflnewshub.com/xfl-podcast. Remember, thank you to our sponsor, Mother's Cantina. Go to motherscantina.com to check out all their merch. Go buy something. Tell them XFL News Hub sent you. Say, hey, I appreciate you sponsoring the podcast, even though I don't know what was going on with YouTube tonight, acting all sorts of weird. But we made it through, my friends. We did it. The chat room disappeared. We'll just chug along, man. You just got to keep going. We're learning all this stuff, my friends. Remember our contest. Sign up for our contest. If you want to be in our DraftKings League, it's pretty full, but we probably could slide in a person or two. That's it for me, folks. Mahalo to all my friends. God bless you all, and I will see you all later. Bye-bye. Bye, really. Bye.